The committee meeting of the Planning Committee. My name is Nicholas Wright. I'm chair of this committee, and I'd like to introduce the Vice Chairman, Councillor Dawkes, and all the other committee members this afternoon, in particular Linda Robinson, Councillor Robinson, who I gather is birthday today. So thank you for giving up your birthday to come on the Planning Committee. I'm sure it's equally as exciting. Let me introduce you to Committee Administrator Amanda Lads, Head of Legal Services Heather Peachy, Development Manager Carl Brace, and Planning Officer Karen Whiteman. Also Assistant Manager South Worcestershire Land Drainage Partnership Andrew Fowle, and I think that's pretty everybody. And welcome to the speakers. We've got 3 speakers this afternoon. Welcome to you. Just in case there's a fire, exits outside where they came in to the doors, and this is being webcast on YouTube. If we have to break, there will be breaks, but we only have 2 items this afternoon, so I'm not going to hurry it along, but we'll see how we get on. On item 8, I am conflicted as I'm clerk to Elmbridge Parish Council, also know the owner of the field, that's the dog field, so I'm not taking part in that particular application. I shall sit at the back and not vote, and Councillor Dawkes will take the chair for that item. Thank you. Have we any apologies, Mandy?
Chairman, I've had apologies from Councillor Andrew Dyke, Councillor Rob Adams and Councillor Adrian Hardman. Councillor Paul Middleborough is substituting for Councillor Adams. Thank you.
Thank you. And are there any declarations of interest? Have you any declarations of interest?
Chairman, for item 8, Councillor Nicola Morris has declared a non-pecuniary interest. The Speaker, Councillor Barry Audis, is known to her. Thank you.
Declarations of interest from the committee members. Councillor Birch.
Yes, I will have to register the same interest as Councillor Morris.
Thank you. Are there any further declarations? No. Thank you. Before we go to the minutes, I'd like to welcome Councillor Charles Tucker to this committee. I think it's the first meeting where he's been on the committee. Welcome. You've all had the minutes for the committee meeting held on the 19th of June. Are there any alterations to make from anybody? No, in that case, could I have a proposal and seconder for those minutes? Proposed by Councillor Clatworthy, seconded by Councillor Ward. Thank you. People who've been here before know all the answers and know what I'm going to say. Basically, there's a lot goes into these applications. Right from the very start when they're applied for and the case officer looks at them. We go through the National Planning Policy Framework, the Planning Practice Guidance, the Waste Course Strategy, South Worcestershire Development Plan, Supplementary Planning, Neighbourhood Plans as relevant, etc. And it's all, if you look at the reports, you'll see it usually on paragraphs 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. So a lot goes into these planning applications, and so when we come to committee, I'm afraid sometimes they don't go accordingly to those of you who've come as you wish, but I hope you'll respect the committee's decision, whatever. Thank you. You can leave all your applause till the end if possible, or anything else. Thank you. And for those who haven't come, I'll just explain what happens. If we have speakers, we have 3 speakers this afternoon for the second item. You have 3 minutes for town or parish council, 3 minutes for those objecting to the application, 3 minutes for those in support. And this time is fixed at 3 minutes. So if you go over it, I'm afraid I'll stop you, or Councillor Dawkes will stop you in this case. And so the way it works, as you probably know, the planning officer will describe the proposal, update the committee as appropriate. Parish and town council will then be invited to speak. The objectors to the scheme will be invited to speak, and then the applicant or the the applicant or supporters will be invited to speak, then the visiting ward member or the ward member is allowed to address the committee, and the members will debate the application. That's roughly how it operates. Are there any points? No, thank you. In which case we'll go on to item 7 on the agenda, which is planning application 25/00525, properties 1 to 6 Willow Court, Droitwich Spa, variation of condition 2 application, and I think I won't say any more about that one. We have no speakers for this item, and so I'll introduce Karen Whiteman, who's case officer, to go through this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This application, properties 1 to 6 Willow Court, is presented as the council own this site. It's for a variation of plans to a planning application that was approved to re-establish the building as 6 residential flats. The amendments is for amendments that were made for the extensions, the car parking access point. The plan shows that it's located in Droitwich Spa, and the location plan shows the site, which is now surrounded by residential properties. And the aerial photograph can see the site. This proposed site plan relates to the cycle store bin, and that was given permission and is now to be enlarged. There's also a new retaining wall to be constructed in the top corner. This is the elevations and the details for the retaining wall, and this is details of the bin store and an image of the bin store. As the site is currently being reconstructed, so I haven't really got any recent photos, but this shows the listed building as it was in 1956. And these photos that were taken in 2023 and later shows the condition of the building and how it's deteriorated. As you can see, this is the condition in 2023 when it was presented to committee. The recommendation is for approval, and there are no updates. Thank you. Oh.
Thank you very much. I don't think we have the ward members here, Councillor Duffy or Councillor Chowdhury. Are there any questions the committee wants to ask of the case officer? Deadly silence. Fantastic. Then I'll open it to any debate that happens to be around this afternoon. Anybody wants to say anything? Thank you, Councillor Kersey.
Not sure I even showed my hand, but thank you very much, Chairman.
I can tell when you're about to speak.
Really? Okay. Excellent. I think everything about really this scheme, obviously we're aware why it's before council today, but everything about this scheme really is to be commended, and having been able to visit this scheme and see the work that's gone on there, it's absolutely to be commended. So happy to propose approval in line with officer recommendation.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I think Councillor Richard Morris, George Duffy and Jennifer Chowdhury would be very happy to see that the work is progressing so well. The building really was in a sorry state up to a few months ago before the work started. And the work that's being done will have a huge impact in not only providing additional housing, but also making the area on the edge of the Westlands look considerably better than it did just 12 months ago. So on that basis, I'm more than happy to second the proposal for approval.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any more comments on this particular application? Councillor Kersey?
I would like to thank Karen for the 1950s photograph. It's not very often that we see black and white photographs on an officer presentation, so thank you very much for that.
Yes, thank you. I don't know whether that's sort of comment on one's age or anything like that, but never mind. Thank you for that. I like the photographs as well, I must say. So if we have no more comments, could we go to the vote, please? Heather?
Thank you, Chair. So the motion is to approve in line with officer recommendation as set out in the report. So members, can I ask you to raise your voting cards? Those in favour? That's unanimous, Chair.
Before I vacate the seat to Councillor Dawkes, I just want to say one quick thing which I forgot to say to start with. You might have read, or you must have read, that this magnificent trophy has been awarded the Planning Department. It says Planning Excellence West Midlands RTPI Awards for Planning Excellence, Planning Authority of the Year, Wychavon and Malvern Hill District Councillors, winner of that. So we congratulate the planning officers. I think specifically Carl Brace, who's spearheaded it, for achieving this. Thank you, and well done. What he didn't mention was the planning committee on this award. So I'd like to put a point that for the planning committee are part of the planning arrangements, and therefore congratulations. Also, you don't mind me saying this, congratulations to the planning committee for having to put up with all the various applications and to do it properly. Thank you. Councillor Dawkes.
Good afternoon. Come to the next item, which is W/25 00519/CU, which is a Mutnell Green secure dog field in Cutnell Green. And the development is for a change of use of the land to form a secure dog walking field as approved under the permission 23/02132/CU, variation of condition 5. I would like now to ask the speakers to take their seats, please, which is Mr. Sam Harrison, Councillor Barry Ordis, and Mr. Chris Kippax, please. Thank you. Can I ask Karen to introduce the application?
Thank you, Councillor Dawkes. This application is at Mutnell Green Secure Dog Park at Addis Lane and Cutnell Green. Planning permission was given for a change of use of land to form a secure dog walking field, reference 23/02132/CU. This is an application to vary condition 5 of that permission. The site address shown up at Cutnell Green, which is up towards the top of the district. And the location plan shows it was a parcel of wider agricultural land, and it's located as identified as outlined in red. The aerial photograph shows it as a field just before the change of use. And the site plan shows the timber stock fencing and the car parking area now located to the southwest corner. There's a photograph of Addis Lane, which is the lane that runs along the frontage. And this is now a photograph of the car park area at the frontage with the field behind. The recommendation is approval and there are no current updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Could I ask Councillor Barry Ordis to speak on behalf of the Parish Council? Yeah, I must remind you, you have 3 minutes from when you start. Yeah, sorry, sir, you're in the wrong seat. Can you move along? Thank you. Take your time. We'll time you from when you start.
Right, good afternoon. Elmbridge Parish Council supports businesses within the parish. The Muntnall Green Secure Dog Field supports 2 businesses, the landlord, who is a local farmer's widow, and the tenant, Muntnall Green. Elmbridge Parish Council are aware of the concerns of neighbours in Addis Lane. The councillors have listened to their concerns at a recent parish council meeting. EPC appreciate the existing restrictions result in both the customer and neighbour confusion. Therefore, after much discussion at a recent EPC meeting, the Parish Council accept that the proposed variation in Condition 5, we believe that the dog numbers should be restricted to no more than 6 rather than the 10 proposed. So really, I'm here, if you like, as an objector for the neighbours, but as a supporter to actually put conditions on this proposal. EPC endorsed the success of Muntnall Green Secure Dogfield business within the Elmbridge parish. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can I introduce Mr. Chris Kippax, who's going to speak as an objector?
Good afternoon, Chair, Councillors. I speak today on behalf of not only those present, but also other local residents who've contributed to this statement. Condition 5 was introduced for a very clear reason: to protect residents from the impacts of noise, traffic and disruption. The field sits adjacent to our homes on a country lane with no pavement and limited visibility. It's a tranquil residential setting, not an appropriate location for large-scale or loosely regulated dog walking activity. At the heart of this condition is the restriction to individual use. When just one person is using the field at a time, the noise levels remain relatively contained. Individual use naturally limits the number of cars arriving and prevents the kind of cumulative disturbance that comes with multiple people and dogs interacting. Our concern is that if the condition is removed, then this will lead to increased instances of noise disturbances that we have experienced in the past with large numbers of people and dogs. I would urge the committee to consider a compromise rather than a removal. Specifically, I suggest that Condition 5 be retained, but with added clarity that individual use means a single booking with up to 6 people and 6 dogs. This would allow for family or household members to accompany the booking while keeping noise and traffic impacts within reasonable limits. Such a compromise maintains the spirit of the original condition, protecting neighbours and the rural character of the lane, while offering the applicant a workable and fair framework for operation. To be clear, we're not saying the field should only be used for single dog owners. It is reasonable to allow individual users to bring up to 6 dogs, as long as they are all under the care of an individual booking, i.e. one person and their family or friend. That could include a responsible professional walker or an individual dog owner and family with multiple pets. What must be avoided is group use, where a large group of people arrive, each with dogs. When this has happened previously, it has led to an unacceptable level of disturbance. The applicant argues that the current condition creates confusion, but in fact the Planning Enforcement Officer, Victoria Stevens, clarified this. She explained that individual bookings can include a friend or family member as long as they are not bringing additional dogs. She also confirmed that when multiple commercial walkers use the field at the same time, even under separate bookings, it constitutes group use and therefore a breach. The condition is clear and enforceable. Condition 5 is not a random restriction, it's a measured safeguard. Other dog fields operate under different terms because they're located in less residential settings. That's not the case here. This business exists in close proximity to where people live, and we've already experienced the consequences. We moved to this location for its quiet character, totally disregarding the current condition would only result in increased noise disturbance. It is about the quality of life and balance between rural business and residential well-being. In summary, we do not object to the business operating, we object to it expanding beyond what this sensitive location can accommodate. Our proposed approach upholds the original intent of the condition to control noise and traffic while still allowing sensible and respectful use of the field. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'd now like to call on Mr. Sam Harrison to speak in support.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members. This application is not being brought forward lightly. It arises due to due to the ambiguity of condition 5 of the existing permission, which refers to individual bookings, but provides no definition as to what this means, nor does it set out any enforceable limits on the number of people or dogs present at the site. In practice, this has led to enforcement challenges and regrettable tension with the nearest neighbours. As you've heard again today, those residents have consistently opposed the scheme from its initial approval to this modest variation. And while we absolutely respect their right to raise concerns, the ongoing pattern of complaints has quite frankly gone beyond what can be considered reasonable. There have been repeated unsubstantiated complaints. Customers have reported being filmed, approached and even verbally confronted while using the site, creating an unpleasant environment for what should be a simple and peaceful activity. The applicant has now had to seek legal advice and initiate a formal cease and desist process. To be clear, this application is not about intensifying the use of the field or reducing control. It's about clarity. It proposes a straightforward, enforceable cap of 10 dogs and 25 people per session. And importantly, these figures were not proposed by the applicant. They were suggested by your own council officers. This application has the applicant has simply accepted those limits in full as a reasonable compromise. We wish to respectfully highlight that the applicant is not seeking and is not open to any form of negotiation on those numbers at this time. We are here today to either approve this clarifying point or not. If the committee is minded to refuse this application, contrary to the officer's recommendation, the applicant will simply continue to have to operate under the current wording of Condition 5, which places no such limit on the number of dogs or people. The reality is that approval of this application will not change the day-to-day operations of the business in any meaningful way. What it will do is provide the council with a clear, enforceable remit for responding to complaints. Right now, there are no measurable parameters, just repeated objections and continuous back and forth, which, as officers will confirm, is draining public resources. In truth, this application is of minimal benefit to the applicant. It is being pursued to provide clarity for the council, for residents and for enforcement. If approved, it will enable officers to draw a clear line under a speculative and disproportionate amount of complaints and focus their time more constructively. We are not deliberately seeking to ignore or dismiss any of the concerns raised by the objectors, whether relating to noise or traffic. However, it is important to clarify that these matters are not directly under consideration as part of this application. The dog field is already approved. The purpose of this proposal is simply to establish a clear, enforceable parameter for a site that already benefits from planning permission and will continue to operate in lieu of this variation today. This is a variation, not a removal of a condition. So in closing, we respectfully ask members to support your own officer's recommendation of approval and bring this matter to a close, fairly, proportionately and in a way that benefits all parties. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Councillor Della. Would you like to ask any questions of any of the speakers?
Thank you, Chair. I guess just to Karen, can you clarify how we got to 2.5 people per dog, please?
The condition come in for 10 dogs, but no restriction on persons. So we felt that that wouldn't overcome the ambiguity with the current condition. So that's why we negotiated for a number as well with the dogs. If you have 10 dogs, obviously you need, to have X amount of persons per dog. So if you sort of go on a general family, that you may have two, three. So we did the ratio of 25 to the 10.
Just one more, if I chair. And the number 10. Where did that initially come from?
That was the initial number that was presented with the application from the applicant.
Are you finished, Rick? Thank you. In that case, I'd like to ask any members of the committee if they'd like to ask any questions of the speakers. Councillor Dan Birch.
Thank you, Chairman. 2 questions, if I may, one to our officers and then one to the speakers. So to our officers, when it comes to conditions on users, so obviously there's a condition around dogs, but when it comes to people, how specific can we go? For example, if you're talking a family coming, usually, family of 4, you'd get 2 adults, 2 children. Are you able to condition it so that you only allow for a specific number of over 18s, and then that gives a bit more flexibility in terms of children coming along as well?
Obviously, when we impose a condition, as you will be aware from the report, it has to meet the tests of paragraph 57 of the framework. So it has to be reasonable and it has to be necessary. I think restricting over at a certain age wouldn't really be reasonable because, you know, you have many families with children that have dogs. And also whether that could be enforced. I don't know how we could determine a person's age to be able to enforce that for enforcement, that they would be over a certain age to restrict.
Okay, no, that's perfectly fine. Thank you. And then to the parish councillor, Councillor Barry Orders. If I can ask, when it comes to the number of people using the site, what do the parish council see as the most appropriate number, along with the number of dogs? If you could just clarify both.
So we were discussing 2 carloads, so that would be 8 people. That's what we thought. But
And you're happy with the 10 dogs?
no, we think it ought to be restricted to 6 dogs.
Are you finished, Dan? Yes. Okay, thank you. Councillor John Clackworthy, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Unless I've missed something, and I'll stand to be corrected if I have, I'd like some clarification from someone, please, because if we look at the notes on this, the original notes under 3, relevant planning history, I appreciate its history, it talks about 2 cars and 4 dogs. I've heard 6 dogs. I've heard no limit. I've heard 10 dogs. Can somebody clarify how many dogs are we talking about to make a decision?
Karen, do you want to answer that? Thank you.
The original permission only put a condition that an individual person can make a booking. That does not stipulate the number of dogs or the number of people that can attend the site at one time. So at present, there is no condition imposed by the planning authority restricting the number of dogs or persons. So this condition that's now proposed is to restrict for 10 dogs and 25 persons at any one time. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Yeah, just clarify that. We've got currently no limits. That's the current state of play. No limits. And we've got a change of use to limit it to 25 people and 10 dogs. And the applicant has said that if that is not approved, it will go back to the unlimited. That's the choice we have at the moment. Thank you.
I was just wondering where the 4 and 6 had come from, that was all.
I have no idea. Councillor Nicola Morris.
Thank you. I'm not sure I've got this right. It sounds to me that the applicant is actually being conscientious and saying, rather than having no restriction, I'm happy to have a restriction, and the disagreement is about the restriction. So, have I got that right?
So, the application's been brought forward because the wording of the current condition, contrary to, you know, obviously I appreciate the objectors have got other views, but having the enforcement team have been having difficulties dealing with consistent complaints, and what we're trying to achieve, this isn't necessarily in the applicant's benefit in terms of restricting numbers from nothing to something, but what it does do is provide a clear definition which the enforcement team, the officers and all and sundry can then begin to work around. At the minute we're having, I don't know, daily, weekly complaints because someone's seen someone with a friend and they might have another dog and we don't really know, and we've got some photographs here, and before you know it, we've got yet another enforcement case. So what we're trying to do is simply remove any ambiguity. We aren't proposing at any one time there would be 25 people. I think, quite frankly, the numbers, it is high, but it's high by design, in as much as it provides a top-end bracket which isn't really ever going to lead to any formal enforcement case, because that's the only mechanism we can do. We're trying to remove the constant complaints and objections.
That was just for clarification. My actual question now, but thank you for that, is do you have figures telling us on average how many dogs are on the field at any one time and how many people? Do you have that information?
I don't have the information to hand. The applicant has provided it to the enforcement team and the ward councillor, I believe.
that seems to me quite relevant, doesn't it? I think. Can we have that?
Well, not necessarily. The application before you is to vary the condition, not to...
Oh, wait, no, I understand
Yeah.
that bit, but my next question would be for the parish council, because I want to try and get a sense of the facts around this so that it makes it easier for us to make a decision.
Okay.
But I'm happy to ask my question to the parish council, and then as a committee we can decide if we want the data. My question for the parish council is, I've noticed there have been complaints, but I haven't got an accurate sense of what they're about. Is it about noise? Is it about car noise, dogs barking? Is it about traffic? Could you just give me a sense of what the complaints are really about?
Yes, the complaints have been about noise, where, if you like, a party of people have been there letting the dogs exercise and such like, but if you like, a little bit of a party atmosphere, so there has been some noise complaints without a shadow of a doubt. And in actual fact, there was some exercise pipes and tables put down near the road end, where we did ask the tenant actually to move them and spread them out, so that the dogs wasn't all relocated in one area to try and help cut the noise down. Does that answer your question?
Well, sort of. Are we talking people noise or dogs barking?
The issue is both.
Both.
Okay, you're happy. Councillor Emma Kersey, please.
Chairman, thank you. A question to the applicant, please. You said in your 3 minutes that the issue is to resolve what has come about around the existing condition, which is around having the one booking. But you also said that, you said very clearly that, in your words, we're allowed to either approve it or refuse it. You don't want to enter into any negotiation. But the point is that it seems to be the issue is around the fact that around the booking system, that only one person can book it, and that's what seems to be causing the problem, and then therefore a problem for enforcement, and therefore there's a lot of complaints, and it's harder for it to be enforced. So I'm just surprised that you've said there's no negotiation when you said that you didn't bring the numbers forward. So if there was a degree of change with the numbers, I would have thought that if that solves your problem to the fact that it has to be from one booking, then surely that would be acceptable. And what I would also say is that the committee will be looking at this, obviously, in light of what's before us, which is a noise objection from Worcester Regulatory Services. So I'm just really to understand that bringing this forward seems to solve the problem that is being experienced, which I'm unsure as to why you're saying that you won't negotiate on the numbers, which, as you said, that you didn't bring forward. Could you help me with that, please?
Yes, certainly. So the reason we're saying it isn't really on the table for discussion is in terms of the numbers is because we seem to be drawing a correlation between the number of people to the number of dogs. The number of people we're happy to negotiate. I don't know legally how we stand on revising the wording of a live application in the middle of a committee, but subject to legal being happy with that, we're happy to negotiate on the people, on the number of people. What we aren't happy to negotiate on is a number of dogs, because at present there are several dog trainers, well, not dog trainers, dog exercisers, whatever, professional dog walkers, shall we say, which use the field on a regular basis, and they're one of my clients' biggest customers, and they often bring 10 plus dogs. So if by definition we bring the 2.5, as it's been mentioned, down in line with the number of people, so 20 to 7.5 dogs, or whatever the relevant figure might be, we end up in a position where the applicant can't run their business as they're currently doing, and it would actually be of detriment to their business model. So it's a case, and the 25 was originally put forward by the planning team, and it provides a very high end, top end limit, but it's only for the purposes of enforcement. I would respectfully, strongly suggest that if we got down to 10 people and 4 dogs, we'd still have complaints, as has been the case right from word go. We're attempting to clarify an enforcement issue. I mean, the noise complaints raised are unsubstantiated. Nobody's been out and actually substantiate any of the complaints whatsoever.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So that actually brings me back to Councillor Morris's point. So you've just mentioned there that one of your main customers has more than 10 dogs, but what you've answered Councillor Morris to say that you don't have any evidence for us about the number of users that you have and the number of dogs that you have, and specifically that relates to the key thing that I'm concerned about here is Worcester Regulatory Services and their objection. So if you were able to give us that evidence to say there haven't been any substantiated noise complaints based on the fact that we currently have an average of, I don't know, 15 dogs or whatever it is, because you've answered Councillor Morris to say that you don't have that information, but then you've just told us that one of your regular customers has over 10. So it's either you have the information for us to be able to make the decision or you don't.
Respectfully, Councillor, the information hasn't been requested of us. The planning officer hasn't come to me and said, can we have the information? No member of the committee, until I've been sat here, has asked for the information. Had it been requested, I would have, of course, presented it. The ward councillor has been made aware of the information, and that has been presented. We do have the information.
That's obviously that's your option to come provided with anything else that we might want in addition or not. But thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Kersey. Councillor Mark Ward, do you have some questions?
Oh, just a statement, really. Just for clarification, I reserve my right to make judgment at the moment, but just to be clear, it is what's before us is a specific application and a variation. I'm not sure whether changing that number either way is what's before us. So I'm not sure that we should be looking at just what's before us or a variation of something which isn't here. So as far as I'm aware, it's yes or no to this particular application. Can you clarify that for me?
Carl, could you answer that, please?
I'll try my best. We have a lawful application for this site to be used as a dog walking site. We have a not very well constructed condition that leaves us in a state of ambiguity in terms of both the applicant, in terms of what any upper or lower limits there may or may not be, because it's so open-ended, it effectively, to my reading, almost leaves an unfettered use. So what this application does is seek to vary that currently poorly worded condition, let's be quite honest about this is what we're dealing with, and provide some clarity for all parties. So that's for the applicant's benefit, for local residents' benefit, and also in the event of complaint, our enforcement team's benefit, because they know the parameters of what is being worked within. So what we're seeking to do is effectively reword a condition on that extant planning permission for clarity.
So to be clear, it's just what's before us.
All you're deciding on basically is, are we better going forward with this not very well worded condition as exists that leaves this situation as it is with these complaints and our enforcement team really unclear on what can and cannot be enforced, or do we approve what's before you and have some sort of regularisation that can clearly be monitored, controlled, and everyone knows what they're working to?
So at the moment, you can have any number of dogs, any number of people.
The way I read read that condition, yeah. It's just poorly worded, frankly, and we've got to own that, and this is the mechanism to address it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Mark. I think we can say one other thing, and that is that Mr. Harrison has said he would vary the number of people, and we could do that within this as a variation to the conditions, but we'd have to agree that with him before we went into debate. Councillor John Clatworthy next, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I think we've agreed that there's an element of ambiguity with condition 5, but when the question was asked earlier on about numbers, specifically people and dogs, it was said that, in records, again, please correct me if I'm wrong, an answer wasn't given definitively. Yet in the original condition, it says that the owner-operator of the dog walking field shall maintain an up-to-date register of all appointments, surely that register would record the number of people and dogs within it. Otherwise, what is it actually recording?
If I may speak, I have a record of noise instances which I've got.
I'm sorry, you can only speak when requested.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but that's how we have to work it. Sorry. So Councillor Clapworthy, I'm sorry, not quite sure what your question was, so I'm not sure who I asked to answer it.
Okay. It's probably one for the applicant. It's saying under the way condition 5 is written at this moment in time, is before us. The owners, operators of the dog walking field shall maintain an up-to-date register of all appointments. The question was asked earlier of the number of people and dogs, and if I heard it correctly, it was said that those figures were not available at this time, whether or not they are. My question basically is, if a register of appointments is kept, what is kept in that register? Is it just the fact there has been an appointment, or does it record the number of people? Does it record the number of dogs?
Mr. Harrison, could you answer that question?
Yeah, so we do have an up-to-date register. The register isn't before me right now. The applicant has it at the dog field, but I've just been informed the average number of dogs is around 4 for 10%, 90% of the time, or more. Within that 10% window becomes a lot more dogs, essentially.
Thank you. Can I ask Carl to just say something? Thank you.
I've got access to some wider files here. So, for example, I've got a submission of data that was presented to colleagues in another department in terms of a schedule for May and June. So, for example, there's an entry, I won't read out names, but it says 4 or more dogs 55 minutes, 1 to 3 dogs 55 minutes, 1 to 3 dogs 25 minutes, and so forth. So there's a number of entries where it says 4 or more dogs for 55 minutes, so that may well be professional dog walker that you heard referenced by the applicant's agent, but the majority of these are 1 to 3 dogs that would suggest a more personal sort of use of the site, and those figures and those time frames, so here 1 to 3 dogs 25 minutes, they're commensurate on the May and June schedules that I have before me in terms of the level of use.
Thank you. I'm sorry, could I ask you to sit down? You're not registered to speak, so you shouldn't be communicating. Can I ask Councillor Nicola Morris
I think this might be a question for Carl or Karen. I'm struggling with this because of the way the objection from Worcester Regulatory Services is written. Because basically, we've got a problem at the moment. Nobody's happy. They're objecting to a change which officers have suggested will resolve this problem. But my question kind of is, they're kind of saying, either they're not saying explicitly that that's not the right solution, or can you see where I'm coming from? It makes no sense at all. I can't see how we can vote on this without some level of clarification about what WRS are actually recommending.
On the original application, WRS commented and did not raise any objection. They did not request any number of dogs or any number of persons. They've commented on this one, but unfortunately, as I've mentioned in the report, again, I think the WRS officer that's looked at it has got rather confused with the ambiguity of the condition as it's set. And yes, WRS consider 10 dogs is too much, and if they had objected in the first instance on the first application, that obviously would have been looked at. So I think WRS have got a little bit confused, and again are thinking, because of the wording of the condition as an individual person, that by raising these numbers it's going to increase the number of dogs and the number of people, and that's why they're objecting.
Thank you, Karen. Nicola, do you have any further questions?
Well, it might come up in discussion, actually.
Does anybody else wish to ask any questions of the speakers? No? In that case, could I ask the speakers to take their seats again? Thank you. And then... Thank you very much. Councillor Della, do you wish to address the committee?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I guess to start, I don't actually have an issue with this dog field. As I say, I didn't object to it the first time round. I think it's good that we have businesses, especially in rural areas. And as it's been quite clear, Condition 5 is a total mess, and it hasn't helped this situation at all. But to resolve that with a condition that allows 25 people and 10 dogs, that is not a dog field, that is a party. That is far too high. You cannot tell me having 10 dogs parking at one time isn't going to cause nuisance to the neighbours, and having 25 people on the site. I get what you're saying. I get what the applicant is saying, that's their top end. They don't expect to get to that. So then why do we have it? Like, why do we have that number? That number is excessive. As was alluded to, was it 90% are 4 dogs? So why are we going for 10? Like, it's over the number. It doesn't make sense. For me, and I've said this and I pushed this back when we were, before it came to committee, I personally think 8 people and 6 dogs is a fair amount. It's 2 cars. It's like every other dog park in my ward. No, none of them have more than 6. I just don't see where we've got 10 from. 10 is too high. It's not going to help anyone. It's just going to cause more chaos. You're thinking, and we look at the highways. If we got 25 people, we're going to have 25 cars. Is that what's going to happen? That's quite a lot down Addis Lane. That's a tiny country lane. I don't see resolving this with a condition, in my opinion, with a bad condition. Resolving a bad condition is helpful. For me, we have to refuse this, and we have to go back to the negotiating board. I know the applicant's not keen on that, but we cannot sit here and say, I cannot sit here as a local board member and say, I'm happy with 25 people and 10 dogs at any one time. That is it's just not acceptable. And I would urge, we need better clarity on this. This isn't going to help. This doesn't help anybody. So it's disproportionate, and you're just going to alienate your local neighbours by that, because that is too many. Well, you're going to have hundreds of people throughout the day. Is that what we're saying? I know we're saying we might not get to that, but we're conditioning to allow that. So I don't understand how that can just be acceptable. This is a good dog park. Lots of people I know use this one. It's a good local ward business for me, in my ward, but I just cannot see how we are saying as a council a dog park is acceptable. And it's a dog park are there to allow dogs to who aren't good around other dogs and stuff. But this isn't it. This isn't what we're agreeing to today. This is excessive, and I urge committee to refuse.
Thank you, Councillor Della. Now I'll open it up for debate with the committee then. Councillor Birch.
Thank you, Chairman. Interesting one from the point of view of, we obviously had approved it a little while ago with what we've now discovered to be quite a vague condition. So I think it's a lesson learnt from all of us that we will be a little bit more robust in the future with these sites. Now, there's a number of obviously dog parks throughout Wychavon. Some of them considerably larger than others. We've got a number which are in incredibly rural locations, not near to properties, which allow for far more dogs, support group activities, agility courses, things like that. We've got a number of those. And then similarly, we have a number of much smaller sites like this one, which are tailored more towards people training puppies, smaller groups who possibly have dogs that struggle with recall. And those sorts of sites do need to be restricted in terms of the number of dogs and people that we see, because their purpose is not to run agility or to have group sessions or to disturb the residents around. Now, within my patch, we've got a company that look after puppies and young dogs, and the number of complaints that we get, and they only have a small number, they only have 8 to 10, but we get a number of complaints because when they're out running on the fields, they bark and make a lot of noise, and it disturbs the residents of Ladywood quite a bit. So you do need to be careful about how many you allow. My perspective on it is I think the parish council and the opinion of the residents is reasonable. I think 25 people does seem like quite a lot, although it might seem unrealistic to have that number. It's allowing that possibility, and similarly 10 dogs is quite a number. To have 10 dogs with 25 people in that space surrounded by properties is quite a busy field. I think the opinion to have 8 people and 6 dogs is far more reasonable. I get the argument around dog walkers having a large number of dogs, but there are other sites within the district that are tailored towards that. So I would be happy to propose approval with the variation that we change the 25 people and 10 dogs to 8 people and 6 dogs. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I ask Carl to comment on that, please?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Just hearing what Councillor has just said there is completely reasonable if you're coming to this cold. What you've got to remember is you have an extant planning permission that allows unfettered use. So if you've got an unfettered use, we've got a position that the applicants are happy to agree to that effectively undermines their current position where they have that unfettered use. They're happy to bring in a control level as set out of 10 dogs, 25 people. So to go to the 8 and 6 as proposed, that A isn't what has been applied for, and B would be patently unreasonable in terms of what they currently have as an extant lawful planning permission. So we just need to be mindful how we approach this one. As I say, if you were coming to this cold as a site that had no planning history and it was a fresh dog walking site, that proposition might be eminently reasonable, but that's not what we have. We have an unfettered use for a dog walking site. So it's finding that proportionality against a permission where we have this very open-ended condition that allows very limited control. So we're trying to find the middle ground. That's what Karen has worked at with the applicants to arrive at the figures before you. That's the proposition that's on the table basically for members. And I don't really see it's fair or proportionate to try and further negotiate that down within this scenario. So I think that the proposition is that you either approve as set out or refuse if you feel that this amended condition isn't acceptable. But of course, refusal will then leave you with the unfettered condition as it stands and an unlimited use on the site. So it is a difficult one. It is a lesson learned. It shows the importance of conditions, the importance of being precise, being clear within that. So it's very much something as a team we are across this, as I say, is an older permission, but nevertheless we have to deal with that from the 23 permission, and that's where we are, I'm afraid, from my point of view.
Thank you, Carl. Can I ask Councillor Rowley to speak?
Yes, well, I'm happy to propose the officer's recommendation following that explanation, because I think it's better to have some control than no control, and I think that is what is before us.
Thank you. Councillor Morris next, please.
Can I just say, I think we, yet again, been let down by the statutory consultees on this, because I'm sorry, they could have given a much better recommendation, WRS objecting to it and then not giving an alternative. I also want to pick up on the point that's been made very well, is that the applicant could have as many dogs as they want at the moment. The 10 I can see is a good compromise, and just a bit of clarification on this, it doesn't mention people in the condition in the paperwork, or have I missed that? It just says 10 dogs, I thought, unless I've...
Yeah, condition 3 is set out in the report.
Oh,
Councillor.
I've just looked at the text in the report.
Yeah, a maximum
okay.
of 25 persons.
Okay. Right, and there's no compromise around that because of the reasons said.
Well, what we can offer up is, as you'll also see within condition 3, Karen has negotiated with the applicants that for the avoidance of exercising of dogs does not include dog training classes, dog agility classes or similar. So we've gone a step further to reduce, for want of a better phrase, an intensification of use, if you like. So this brings it more back to personal use or professional dog walkers with a limited amount of dogs. So you're not going to have dog classes on the site. So again, that does go some way to potentially addressing some concerns that have been raised as well. So that's an additional control we didn't necessarily have before.
Thank you. Councillor Paul Middleborough.
Thank you, Chairman. I mean, I do think WRS has not been professional in terms of the advice that has been given. I've gone back to the documentation, and the documentation has no evidence base in it whatsoever to, it says, I'm unable to support the variation in condition to allowing up to 10 dogs, as this is likely to cause significant loss of amenity. Well, there's no evidence base there at all. It's just some pretty woolly words, and on that basis, I think they've, I was going to say, WRS have sold us a pup in terms of what they're advising. And I must say, I would go along with the officer's recommendations and second the officer's recommendations.
Thank you, Paul. Councillor Kersey.
Chairman, thank you. I'm concerned about this. I hear what my colleagues are saying about WRS, and I hear the ambiguity potentially within their objection, but it's not that often that we have an objection from WRS, and albeit it probably didn't come in necessarily at the right time. But I understand what they're saying is because, based on what the applicant has said, if that 90% of their customers at the moment have an average no more than 4 dogs, that's why WRS are saying that there's been no formal noise complaints that have been upheld. So hence why the current situation isn't having those upheld complaints, whereas if it moves to up to 10 dogs, they're saying that they are likely to have that complaint. That's why they've put that noise objection within there. And I absolutely hear what Carl is saying, and yes, it's absolutely unfortunate that we're in this position, particularly because, as we've heard from the parish council and we've heard from Councillor Della as the local ward member, he didn't object to this application in the first place, the original application, and we're all about supporting local, particularly rural businesses, and he has a large number of these in his ward, as a lot of us do, but they have these restrictions on of 8 people and 6 dogs. Now, I appreciate that we didn't put that in place when the condition was put in place in 23, but I'm struggling to understand that going from the position that the condition is now to reducing the number that's within this condition is actually making it worse off for the applicant, particularly as they've said that 90% of their customers only have an average of 4 dogs. Because the condition at the moment does specifically state individuals only and no group bookings permitted, whereas with this, it would, even if it was 8 people and 6 dogs, it doesn't have to be restricted to individuals, and it can be, to a degree, group bookings. So it does give them that degree of flexibility from the current condition. So I don't see that it's as restrictive as it seems. But I hear what Councillor Middlebury is saying about the WRS objection, but I can understand where they're coming from. They haven't had any complaints, and that would be on the basis that there's an average of 4 dogs. And I'm very much taking on board what Councillor Della has said, and I know that he would have done a lot of work behind the scenes on this to try to get this resolved. And so that's why I would want there to be that the variation to include 8 people and 6 dogs.
Thank you, Councillor Kersey. Do we have? Currently we have a proposal and a seconder for acceptance, for approval of this. And a variation from Councillor Kersey. Has anybody else got anything yet to say?
Yeah.
Councillor Ward.
My only comment is, with regard to WRS and the noise issue, they're still obviously able to act on any potential variation to this or any approval of this application. So changing or reinforcing clause 5 doesn't preclude any further enforcement action from WRS against noise. So they still could act on that basis.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Tucker.
Yes, I'd just like to agree with what Mark Ward has said. The WRS are not being prevented from taking action in the future if there should be noise complaints. So I agree with you, Mark, and I also agree with Councillor Middleborough regarding the way in which the WRS have approached this. So I'm prepared to support it, the planning application or the proposal as it's in the officer recommendation.
Thank you. Any other comments? In that case, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Chair. So the motion on the table is to approve in line with the officer recommendation as set out in the report. So if I can ask you to raise your voting cards, please. Those in favour? That's 9 in favour. Those against? That motion's carried, Chair, 9 and 2.
Thank you very much. Shall I close the meeting, Chair? I'd like to close the meeting at 3:02. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Can I remind all councillors that wish to stay behind, we have training now. Can I thank